Now you're very welcome along to the football family here in the 42. Enda Coll here with you. And joining me on the top of the show this morning is Emma Duffy, because we're going to be reacting to the Republic of Ireland squad for the World Cup that Vera Pauw announced this morning. The squad is as followed. The goalkeepers are Courtney Brosnan, Grace Maloney, and Megan Walsh. Defenders, Heather Payne, Anya O'Gorman, Niamh Fahey, Louise Quinn, Diane Caldwell, Claire O'Riordan, Megan Connolly, Chloe Mustaki, and Isabel Atkinson. In the midfield is Katie McCabe, Denise O'Sullivan, Lily Agg, Ruishia Littlejohn, Kira Grant, Sinead Farrelly, and Lucy Quinn. And in the forwards are Kyra Carusa, Amber Barrett, who sent the Republic of Ireland to the World Cup with that goal, Marissa Sheva, and Abby Larkin. So that is the 23-person squad. And then there are training players as well. Sophie Whitehouse, Harriet Scott, and Jamie Finn, who misses out on the squad, is going as a training player as well. So Emma Duffy, what is your immediate reaction to that squad? I guess you had some good reporting last night on the 42 that was pretty much spot on and with that squad. So not too many surprises from your end, given you had already looked into it. But for somebody who wasn't following it as closely as you, what's the biggest surprise from that squad, do you think?
Yeah, and I suppose the fact that both Aoife Mannion and Megan Campbell didn't make it. Obviously there had been injury doubts and question marks over their availability, given their lack of presence in camp and just the fact that they're both going through return to play protocols. But I suppose their loss is certainly a big blow to Ireland. And then Jamie Finn for me. I suppose that's one that's certainly shocked a lot of people, that she's just among the training players, had played a huge role for Ireland through qualification, but seems to have slipped down the pecking order off late. So she will travel to Australia, but as you say, as a training player. And then for me, I thought Leanne Kiernan personally had done enough to be involved. Obviously coming back from a long-term injury, 8 or 9 months out with an ankle setback, really horrific injury, but she looked, I suppose Vera Pauw's reasoning, speaking afterwards, was that she isn't fully fit. She's not just ready. I thought she looked quite good against Zambia. Obviously the obvious rustiness, but I did think she did show glimpses of brilliance, and we all know what Leanne Kiernan can do. She seems to offer something different to, I suppose, the forwards, it's strikers in the squad. She's a proven goal scorer at club level. So I do think that was a little bit of a shock on my part anyway. But that's the nature of the beast. That's elite sport, and those tough decisions do have to be made.
Yeah, the one thing you could say about Leanne Kiernan is that if this World Cup does prove to be the catalyst for Irish women's football and that they continue to qualify for major tournaments, she has a long time left in her career because she's still quite young. So hopefully she will get to a major tournament at some point with the Republic of Ireland. But in terms of Megan Campbell, like, one of the reasons I would have thought she would have made it is that secret weapon at the World Cup, and that's the long throw-ins. And people might scoff at that. People might say that I'm going to the lowest common denominator with Megan Campbell there. But ultimately, you're at a major tournament. If you're in the shitter, then that long throw in could be very useful.
Absolutely, and that long throw in does cause havoc. It obviously brings that little bit of chaos inside the box. It's pretty much a set piece. Obviously, she can throw the ball 30-40 meters. Incredible to watch, and definitely a nice tool in Ireland's armory. But the fact that they won't have that now is certainly disappointing. But it's not just that; it's her all-round play, and I suppose just her presence within the squad too. So speaking this morning, Pau said that I suppose she had, there was no chance, the risk would have been too big and she would not have been ready to go fully into the World Cup. She did say that, with the throw in, even for 15 minutes, it could have been worth it, but there was no chance in the end. So yeah, definitely disappointing not to have Campbell involved, and she's had a really, really difficult few years. I really feel for her, between knee injuries, ankle injuries, whatnot. It just seems like it's been surgery after surgery, comeback after comeback. And she had been performing quite well for Ireland and Liverpool in recent times, but I know that the warning signs were kind of there. She didn't play much of a part in Liverpool's season running. I know she's since departed, but yeah, this just is a hammer blow for Megan, I'd imagine. but no doubt she will come back stronger from this.
And just finally, before we move on to Vera Pauw and what she was saying this morning, on Aoife Mannion, is the situation there probably that it just came too soon for her, that she didn't really get as much time, as she hasn't been around the squad as much as the rest of the players have been, I guess?
Yeah, similarly, Enda, just I think it was a time issue. Time ran out is pretty much what Pau said, and there was zero chance. The clock was ticking. Likewise, she's on the return to play protocol. She hadn't been named in the extended training squad, so she could focus on her rehabilitation at Manchester United. I believe she came to Dublin on Monday, I suppose, in a last ditch attempt to try and get some clearance between Vera and the FAI, but it wasn't happening. And I suppose every avenue, I'd imagine, was pursued, but unfortunately for Aoife and for Megan, it's not to be this time. And look, Mannion is a big loss. She only has 2 caps. She just made her debut in February, but she made a huge impact, and it looked like she would probably be a nailed-on starter as a centre half there. So I suppose that does change things ever so slightly, but it's also offered opportunities for other players to come in, whether that be Claire Reardon, Izzy Atkinson, those types of girls. So I suppose, yeah, it's difficult to process it all at the moment, but it's about parking all of this now and focusing on the 23 and on the squad and on this historic major tournament and the World Cup.
So what about Vera Pauw then this morning? She was speaking down at UCD in the launch of this. You were at the press conference for that. I'd say this was a tricky enough day for Vera herself, because obviously it's such a weird situation that you have 33 players and you have to cut 10 of them out of your squad for a tournament that's not for, a couple of months now. There a lot could change in terms of injuries, fitness wise, things like that. But did you get the feeling that it was difficult for her, or was this something that she seemed to be very clear about?
Yeah, definitely would have got the feeling that it was difficult for her through her words anyway. She spoke about devastating days, yesterday being the worst day of her career, having to, I suppose, break dreams. But she is convinced, along with her backroom staff, that they have made the right decisions. So I guess it's all part and parcel of elite sport, isn't it? At times there is no room for sentiment, and it's about just moving on with it. But these things do have to be done. She did get emotional at times. Obviously, it was quite a long morning between TV interviews, radio, digital, daily newspapers. So she had a lot of interviews to give, and a lot of, I suppose, going over and back the same kind of ground, and saying the same things about her decisions. So she was clearly visibly emotional at times and did have to take a break here and there. But I'd imagine she will just be happy to park it and to move on with her squad with the full focus on this tournament.
Because I guess it's very difficult to put into words how big a day this really is for not just women's football, but Irish football as a whole. This is something that most people, especially people of our generation, have never experienced, is that the first time that Ireland will be going to a major tournament. The last time they did this was 1988. So, I mean, none of us have experienced how much of a historical moment this was really. But I mean, to have that pressure on your shoulders for Pauw, it is a difficult decision, regardless of who you are or how your standing is in the game.
Yeah, definitely. And look, it's difficult even on the players who have made the plane, who are obviously delighted to have fulfilled their dreams, and which was probably inconceivable for so long, that women could do this, playing for Ireland, could go to the World Cup. But this is a bunch of history makers who are going to do it for the first time ever, and the first time only happens once, so it's incredibly special. But I'm sure it was difficult for them too yesterday, and still today, trying to process everything they've been told, and the task at hand now. Obviously they would have been upset for their teammates and friends who haven't made it. Pauw spoke about tears of joy, but mainly tears of pain for others. So that, I suppose that's a challenge in itself, navigating this unknown territory too, because like this is new for everybody, in terms of international football anyway. But yeah, I think now it's just about the selection has been made, the decisions have been made, and it's just go for it now from here.
Yeah, I saw Denise O'Sullivan tweeted something like that. It was that she was hugely honored, but a little bit numb for the girls that didn't get to go. And I suppose it is a tricky one, because you definitely do get the feeling that this team are such a tight knit group, and they're all really good friends on top of being teammates. So the fact that some of them will be left behind is difficult. But as you say, it's top level sport, so there is no room for sentiment. I know there's rumors a couple of months ago that Sarah Rowe could be a surprise addition to the team. She does not make the squad, unsurprisingly. After a short period with Bowes, she hasn't made it into the squad. But in terms of the squad itself and the 23 that are going, what's your thoughts on the general strengths of it, and what can we expect from these? What's a realistic thing to expect from this squad of players in Australia?
Big question, Enda. I think
I know I asked that like a couple of months out, but we may as well start the preview now.
It's a strong squad, definitely. I guess, like, given all circumstances, and the fact that Pau has ruled out some big names with fitness questions over them, and injury issues, has put that to bed. She has selected, I suppose, as strong as you could expect. I do think, I suppose, Izzy Atkinson, it's a big day for her in particular. I'm not sure if you saw her tweet earlier. I thought it was brilliant. But like, she's come in from a standby list and forced her way into the 23, which is an amazing story. And then the likes of Ciara Grant as well, coming in from the fringes. Clara Reardon making a huge case against Zambia. Amber Barrett as well, of course. I know she would have been in most people's 23s before that Zambia game last week, but she really cemented her status there. And I think she has given herself the super sub title, for better or for worse. But I wouldn't be surprised to see her in the 11 either. So yeah, I do think, I suppose the big thing now is that they go and give a good account of themselves. Difficult group, co-hosts Australia, Olympic champions Canada, and a really strong fourth seed in Nigeria. And obviously there's a lot of travel involved too, with the games being played between Sydney, Perth and Brisbane, and Ireland are based in Brisbane, so I'll have to report back there between each match. So yeah, there's a lot of factors at play. I do think a lot of it kind of hinges on that opener in Sydney. News yesterday that it's completely sold out, over 83,000 people there. I suppose massive pressure on Australia as the hosts, but then Ireland making their major tournament debut. It's massive. So I do think any kind of a result there will be hard got, but it would be significant, of course. And I guess even if they can put on a strong performance, and regardless of the result, are in a good place from there, that certainly bodes really, really well for the rest of the tournament. So yeah, basically just give as good of an account as possible, and make sure that this is not just a once off as well. Like, we don't want to just, for this Ireland team to go to the World Cup, their first ever major tournament, and that be that. Like, it's about a legacy thing here. They need to give a good showing of themselves and ensure that they can get back there again. So I have no doubt that can happen, but it's a huge, huge watershed moment for women's football and football in general in Ireland. And it's, I suppose, the main thing is that it's capitalised on and grabbed with both hands.
Well, arms and hands. Amber Barrett will absolutely not want you calling her a super sub. I just want to put that out there right now. That's one thing for sure.
I would imagine that, but yeah, Beer Pie said as much today. So
well, I mean, she's in the squad, and that's all that matters. But I guess just finally, like, I'm always conscious of talking about, only positivities, and isn't it great to see? And just this kind of nonsense that follows women's football when you're talking about it. But I guess the tournament itself is sort of a culmination of the can't see, can't be movement that went on the last couple of years. I know that ended, was it last year it ended? But the announcement video, I have to give that a mention, because like that is absolute. It was brilliantly done. It was really well put together. It was a great way to showcase the team, as well as showing what this can do, because after Euro 88, as I mentioned, Ireland had a huge spike in interest in football. So that's probably, as well as wanting success on the pitch and wanting to give a good show of themselves, all of that comes into it. But you want the result of this World Cup ultimately to be more girls and women getting involved in football, and the development of it from that point on, after the World Cup. And I guess the video really showcased that and showcased what it can do. So I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just summed it all up, didn't it? Suppose when the video came out earlier, I was desperately fast forwarding to the end to see if there was a graphic of the final squad.
Well, that is the one. Yeah, that is the one annoying thing when you're a journalist. When these videos are great, but then you have to actually get the teams. You're like, can I just get a print version so I can copy and paste
but
it, please?
but then when I got a moment to appreciate it all, I thought it was fantastic. And it just shows, like you say, that it's about seizing this moment, and it's about so much more than the team and what they do on the pitch in Australia. It's about everyone involved in the game, and I suppose the generation that has gone before, and perhaps most importantly the one that will come after, that will see that they can achieve exactly what this team have done, and will hopefully do more down under. So yeah, I think just so when you reflect on the last few years of women's football in Ireland, it's been an absolute roller coaster. You think back to, I suppose, the dark days and the strike in 2017, and how significant that was, and how important that has been in the grand scheme of things. And without that, Ireland, I don't think, would be going to a World Cup or anywhere near a major tournament. And then even if you look to before this World Cup qualifying campaign, you know, the equal pay, the Sky sponsorship, the Cadbury's deal, all these things, and then I suppose getting a result against a higher nation in Australia in a friendly before the qualifiers, which we can't forget about. That seemed like a huge turning point. All of that came at the same time, and it's all, I suppose, gone from there. And now it's just about ensuring the upward trajectory doesn't stop here, and just reaching more and more new heights.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Emma will be doing a proper preview of this before you go away. So when are you going away?
I am going away on Monday week, the 10th. So
Okay.
nice and early, and get the build up all in Brisbane and in Sydney, and yeah, it should be fun.
Sweet. Well, I'll book you in before that for an actual preview of this. But until then, thanks very much.
Thanks a million, Enda. Cheers.